I don't know. This is what I was thinking about yesterday. It's always good for me to have a little bit of space from my work. And the past week has been good. Like, yet by the time I got to yesterday, I was feeling desperate to get back to work, right? I have applications due for these programs I'm applying to. And also, yeah, like it's like when I get too close, I can't think about it anymore because I'm like, I'm seeing every individual word as opposed to the big picture. And it's good to get close and to see the individual words, but you also need to see the big picture to see what is actually worth changing, because you can change the details all you want, but at the end of the day, what matters is the big picture. And I'm in the earliest. I'm only on my second draft, which is kind of like your first draft, because your first draft is just kind of like nothing. And I was sort of reading through it a little bit when I had some free time, and I was like, this is gonna be good. When I have a first draft of everything the way that I see it right now, I can only go up from there. And I'm really ready to get back to that. I have songs to finish for Baby Butterfly, and I'm what I'm really trying to do is figure out how to build a decent portfolio for these programs I'm applying to. But I get really nervous, really scared, and my latest mantra has been, "What are you scared of?" Which is the first lyric in Stargirl, which I just remembered. But it really is like the story can be expanded and fleshed out. But what's important about the story, which is for the album, are these like tiny scenes that they're like sort of like guided pathways through this like other story. Like the music is the music, but there's like this fantastical, I don't know, it looks like sci-fi, but it's fantasy. It's about angels and shit. It looks like this. You can see it. This is what it's supposed to look like. It's trains and motorcycles and warehouses and post-apocalypse, but also angels and monsters and demons. And the thing that I'm trying to lean into is like, it doesn't matter if it's fantasy or science fiction. Like, some people in the world explain the things with science or try, and some people in the world accept the magic of it, and it doesn't matter because the thing exists regardless. Because I think that science and magic are the same thing. I think that science is how we try to explain magical things. My dad hates the word magic because he thinks magic is silly because there's God, but I think God is magic. My dad thinks that magic, using the word magic to describe God, is reductive, but I think that it's like a pretty easy way into what God really is, which is a thing beyond our understanding. Anyways, I digress. But yeah, I was getting really motivated, and I think it really helped. And this is part of why I wanted to hop on here, because I really wanted to talk about this. Timothée Chalamet is an insane person, but I get it. And like, there's like this thing happening because he's so different from the way he was in Call Me by Your Name and Little Women. Like, but he's not that different, actually. If you look really closely, I think he's the same guy. I mean, he is the same guy, obviously, but there's like ever since last year, and like I feel like I remember in one of his interviews he said something about wanting to be a bridge to Bob Dylan, and I will say that bridge was extremely successful for me, because I watched his Zane Lowe interview and immediately after went and watched the Bob Dylan press conference that they mentioned in that, because they kept talking about how he was deified, and I was like, I don't know anything about Bob Dylan. He's definitely not been deified, at least in my life and my understanding. And then I went and I watched it, and I was like absolutely horrifically, like viciously baked. And I was awakened. I can show you the journal entries from that time. It's in my little moth journal, which is this one. Whoa. This is when it happened. The first thing I wrote, which was the day before, there are no prophecies, only thoughts, prayers, hopes, and dreams. And then the next thing I wrote was something that he said, Timothy, in that Zane Lowe interview. Sometimes it matters less what you need to say it and more that you need to say it, which is just like words of fucking wisdom, let me tell you. But right now, people don't like the guy. And I'm like, all the things that people don't like about him are things that I really resonate with as like a fearful artist. I think he's very fearless. Like, he's kind of crazy. And there's a thing. I think my ego recognizes this sense of like, me being scared of everything. The only thing that I can think of to do is to say fuck it and do what I want and not care what people have to say about it. And I think that he does that really well, and I aspire to that level of like freedom. And I think that freedom comes at a great cost. I think that we live in a society that doesn't want you to believe in yourself, right? Where it's all about, and I like, obviously, like, humility is important, and an awareness that you are not everyone, you are you, but you should really believe in you, and you should really like you, and you should really do you, and you should go super hard when you do that. And I think that that is what, like, he has said things, and when I read it, I'm like, I know what people are going to see in this, but I think I also understand what he actually meant. Does that make sense? And like, maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, and maybe I read into it in a positive way because I'm also like obviously a fan, but there is something to what he's saying that I feel like maybe people just aren't ready for. I say very cautiously. And I'm here for it. And I think that maybe it's possible we'll look back and be like, this was nothing. Like, this was super tame, and we were overreacting because our society is incredibly sensitive to opinions, honestly. Yeah. And I have a lot of opinions, and I have a lot of feelings, and I have a lot of things that I want to do. And I'm also an insane person. So fuck me if I'm inspired by a little bit of crazy and a willingness to say what's on your mind at the expense of other people's perception of you. I don't know. Who's right, who's wrong? Who cares? As long as you're not hurting people, I think that's the most important thing. Yeah, and obviously, like, I don't know these people, but that's how I feel when I observe and absorb, and get my, like, my juice and my motivation back. Like who cares? What are you scared of? Go out and do it, and annoy the fuck out of people. Annoy them because they need to be annoyed. We're too complacent. We're boring as fuck as a society. We need to get going. We need to do stuff. We need to go outside and connect and fight against this deteriorating world that we live in. You know, like, everything is dying. We're dying. Our spirits are dying. We're like rotting in our bodies. We say, like, haha, bed rot. Like, no, you are rotting. You are rotting. Everything sucks. Everything is bad. Nobody has any money. Nobody wants to talk to each other. And except we do. And I think that we're on the verge, like, we're on a precipice of, like, taking a dive back into a world where people connect. Like, in this story, I have this phrase, chaos is disconnect, because there's the wild force, the wild free God force, and I think that wild is a good thing because it is just like absolute freedom. And then there's the chaotic force, which is a force disconnected from the great, wild, beautiful God force that connects us to one another. And the more disconnected from that you are, the more chaotic you are, and the more chaos there is, the faster we die. So it's all stories, but also it's all stuff that I actually really truly believe. And I think that's where my fear comes from, is like, yes, I wrote it as a story, but this is how I feel. And I can see that, and I have to be willing to stand on it and shout from the rooftops. And that is what I get from Mr. Timmy. Mr. Timmy. That's cool. I had an Uncle Timmy. He was a musician.